Hi, welcome to Moreauknows. Today we're going to be learning about the cell. We're going to be learning about the organelles, the structures of those organelles, and their functions for different types of cells. Hi, welcome to Moreauknows. Today we're going to be learning about the cell. We're going to be learning about the structures and functions of each of the subcellular components, how they interact together, and provide essential cellular processes to run a cell. The essential question for today is going to be, what are the organelles and their functions in a cell? Cells are really cool, and cells are really small. But why are they so small? Why can't they be bigger? Well, if there is a large volume of a cell, let's say this square, there's little surface area for molecules to move in and reach the center, like let's say oxygen. Okay. When molecules move in or out of the cell, we call that diffusion. And we need to move out carbon dioxide. Well, if the volume's really big and the surface area is really small, it's going to take a long time for those molecules to move in and out of the cell. How do cells fix this problem? They have to increase surface area without increasing volume. So the cells become smaller. And that way, the rate of diffusion, molecules moving in or out of a cell, becomes less, meaning that it happens quicker. These cells are so small that we can't even see them. If I look at my hand, I can't see little bits of cells, okay? Even if I look really, really close. We have to use something called a microscope. And so here we have just a regular microscope that you'll see in our lab. And here we have a plant cell and an animal cell. This is a little bit zoomed in. But here in the plant cell, you can see organelles. So if we look at the different types of cells, they can be broken up into two main categories. And this is going to be prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Pro means before, and karyotic means the egg. So before the egg, and eukaryotic means new. Okay? And the prokaryotic, you're going to see lots of bacteria and archaeobacteria. Okay? These are going to be the two main categories. And eukaryotic cells are going to be plants, fungus, animals, and protists. So you're going to have lots of different variations of these two. Prokaryotic cells, starting from the outside, have a capsule. Okay, this helps protect the cell, along with the cell wall, which is displayed in plant cells as well. They also have a plasma membrane, which is selectively permeable, which we'll talk about in another video, that allows molecules to go in and out, most molecules to go in and out freely. The cytoplasm is this fluid that everything kind of sits in, so it holds it all in there. The ribosomes are going to make proteins, and there will be these little dots around all the cells. Okay? Nucleoid is the place where the DNA sits. So it doesn't have a true nucleus, but it has this area where the circular DNA sits, and it's not going to be like chromosomes that are in our nucleus. And then if you have a little piece of circular DNA that maybe it got from another bacterium, or that we have actually placed in there through transformation, that is going to be a little circular piece of DNA as well. So it'll be a small piece of DNA. The flagellum are actually this little tail-like structure here, and it actually whips around like a helicopter and pushes the prokaryotic cell forward. We also have cilia, which kind of move like this and move the cell forward, backwards, or side to side. And then if they want to attach to other cells, there's these things called pili, and that will actually transfer material back and forth between cells. So let's look at the big bad eukaryotic cell. Now these are a lot bigger than prokaryotic cells. And all of these things in here, they're called organelles. And I'm going to take you through each one of them. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is called the nucleolus. Now this is inside the nucleus and it has a lot of proteins and nucleic acids. It's the site of transcription that's making RNA, and we'll talk about that later. And it also assembles ribosomes. Those ribosomes will make the proteins later on in our discussion. And so the nucleus is this membrane-bound organelle that holds our DNA. It's sometimes considered the brain of the cell, but the most important thing is that it has all of the genetic information in there to make everything in the cell. Ribosomes make protein. So here we have a picture of a ribosome, and they're made up of two components. So we have this small subunit at the bottom, and that kind of sits underneath the RNA. So this is RNA here. And then it has a large subunit that sits on top. And these little molecules here are called tRNA for transfer. And they actually carry the amino acids, which will chain together and make proteins. These ribosomes sit in eukaryotic cells on this rough endoplasmic reticulum. And the reason they call it rough endoplasmic reticulum is because through a microscope, with all of these ribosomes sitting on there, it looks kind of bumpy. So they call it rough. And they're actually attached to the pores or the holes on the nuclear envelope. So there's these little holes all throughout here. And so when we make RNA, it actually flows out and runs into the, or through the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And so when it does that, it actually starts making proteins right away. And so it'll flow through this and making proteins that go through this channel. Okay, so through this membrane channel. And eventually it will get to, all these proteins will get to the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And it's smooth because there's no ribosomes. So it's really straight. So they saw a difference in the microscope between the bumpy and the smooth. So we called it rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. As well as moving proteins through the membrane, it also plays a major role in synthesizing lipids. So that's making lipids. Next we have a vesicle. So once we have gotten the proteins through the rough ER and the smooth ER, we have to transport it around the cell. Now the proteins aren't really made complete yet. They're just kind of bundles of protein. And so if you look here, we have a little circle. And so this circle actually has a plasma membrane and has proteins in it made from the rough and the smooth ER, or lipids. And that needs to get moved throughout the cell. So they put in these little compartments which help move them around the cell. And they usually go to the Golgi apparatus, or sometimes it's called the Golgi body. And the Golgi apparatus will accept vesicles moving in, and then it will change or rearrange the proteins in a way that it will be able to be shipped out of the cell or to the necessary parts of the cell and make whatever that protein is going to do possible. And so I like to think of the Golgi apparatus being like the FedEx. It kind of ships and packages everything and then sends it out. Next we have the mighty mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell and creates energy for the cell to use in the form of ATP. This stands for adenosine triphosphate. So this is the energy currency that the cell uses. And so if we look here at the microscopic version of the mitochondria, we have a cellular membrane around the outside and then a highly folded inside. And so this inside membrane actually allows for more surface area, which allows molecules to go back and forth between the membrane to create energy. The vacuole is really small in animal cells, but in plant cells, the vacuole kind of holds water and pushes everything out to the outside of the cell wall. So here you can see from this microscopic version again that this vacuole here is in the center. There's nothing really there besides water. And so if you have a lot of water in the cells, it straightens up the plant, kind of makes it stiff. And it holds and pushes all these organelles in the nucleus to the outside of the cell. Lysosomes are like the dumpster or the recycling bin of a cell. And because there's so many enzymes in here that destroy things, we need to bundle that up so it doesn't destroy the cell. So the lysosomes have a bunch of digestive enzymes that break things down, and we need to have it in this vesicle so that we don't break things down inside the cell that we need. Plant cells have something that animal cells don't have, and that is a cell wall. So this extra layer of protection will actually help in the structure of the plant, making it stay upright, and also protection. Now you're probably wondering why we aren't green, but plants are. Well, it's because of this organelle right here, and this is called a chloroplast. It has a double membrane as well, kind of like the mitochondria, except these are in little discs, and these discs come in stacks. So we have 1 stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks, and these stacks actually hold the chlorophyll, which the chloroplasts take in sunlight and produce carbohydrates, which can be used to go to a mitochondria to create energy. Now what I want you to do is quiz yourself on the eukaryotic cell. Try and figure out how many organelles you know and their function. You can do this as many times as you like and see how well you do. And if you stumble upon any of them, you can go back through the video and see what you missed. Thank you for watching Moreauknows. Now you do.